Hello, and you're very welcome to the JMac podcast. I'm John McMahon. Of course, the podcast is brought to you by Orgarich.com and Atak.ie. Use the promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on Orgarich.com and get the best skins, gloves, equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. And tonight, I'm joined by former Crossglen footballer Johnny Murray, former Galway footballer Finian Hanley, and former Cork footballer Johnny Goulding to talk about last weekend's action and this weekend's action. So, lots to discuss, lots to chew the fat on, and really look forward to chatting to the lads tonight. Johnny, it's good to see you again, my man. Happy wedding life, married life, even.
Yeah, it's great to be back. It's great to settle down, isn't it, John? Not that anything has changed, really. It's much the same.
How was it, my man? It's good to see that face again, and that accent, as I said, Jim. What's the bigger one?
Yeah, look, it was a fantastic few days. Was glad to take a break and down to Kerry for a few days as well. So it was great. Really enjoyed it. Freshened up, ready to go.
Good stuff. You've business to take care of down in Castleblaney. Mr. Finian Hanley, how are you keeping?
All good, John. Yeah, great weekend. Long weekend was lovely. So nice weather, nice and chilled out in Galway. Galway's busy. Summer's back. The crowd.
What a spot!
We're getting ready for the races now and All Ireland quarter-finals, so we're excited. Hurders had a poor day on Saturday, but sure, look, we can win them all, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Talking about getting ready for the races, Daniel Goulding, how are you keeping? I believe you played in the over 40s tournament at the weekend there.
I did, I sure did, and I'm feeling the effects of it still. We'd sevens competition down in Spa and Clarny.
Clarny, ooh.
You won't believe this, actually. We felt like Liverpool. We got to the final of the whole thing without winning a game. We lost the 3 games on the Saturday, so we were seeded 4th in the quarterfinals.
Hello, Madrid.
Won the quarterfinals on penalties, won the semi-finals on penalties, and lost by a fucking point then.
Brilliant. You're a United fan, Dan, so you would have enjoyed the Champions League final a few weeks ago.
I did enjoy it. I didn't know I was after a good few of points, so it was even better again. But yeah, Liverpool had some season, in fairness, winning 2 Meath Cups on penalties. It was a great year for them.
And the celebrations looked unbelievable. Fair play to them. Andy Robertson said it was the best days of his life.
Yeah, 100%. No, I suppose we'll start celebrating now. We're shipping the deadwood out the door fairly fast, so hopefully things will get better.
100%, Dan, 100%. Definitely, that's great to see they're all in good form. So we got a bit of breaking news a couple of minutes ago. Meath manager Andy McEntee, after 6 years, has parted company with the Meath senior footballer. So there we go. It's definitely an exciting project for the next man to come in. I think Meath County Board will have to be very, very careful about the next man to get in, but we'll wait and see. It's a football mad county. Johnny Murray, your instant reaction to that news?
Yeah, I probably would have seen it coming, to be honest. The thing has gone a wee bit stale. They didn't have that bad a performance the weekend, considering some of their league performances, but I think it's been a long time coming, and Meath will totally look to rebuild and maybe a whole freshen up. Something similar to what Cork has done the year.
Mr. Finian Hanley.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with Johnny there. I think it was coming. I'm surprised he stayed on this year, to be honest, because it's been he hasn't been getting a whistle out of them over the last while. I think they've reached the top, or they've reached the pinnacle of what he can do with them. So I think it's time to freshen the whole thing up. Like, you know, the Leinster crack with Dublin and everything hasn't helped. They haven't really improved, and they don't look like they're going to compete for Leinster or whatever about competing in the top 16 over the next couple of years. So it needs a huge freshen up, a full root and branch review, see what's coming through the underage, and get someone experienced in at the helm that can set up all the structures and give it a 5-year project.
Yeah, Dan, just suppose on that, like, you know, Bernard Flynn was in with the under-20s up until last year, and I think there's a few disagreements about the setup and bits and pieces like that. Is it just maybe a case of kind of getting a Meath-related people in, maybe like a coaching ticket like the Clare senior lads did?
Yeah, look, I suppose the first thing anyway, I suppose Meath are, with the last couple of years, they've gone into Division 1 a couple of times and they've struggled up there. So I suppose what they are is a solid Division 2 team, really. But I suppose the the main problem with the last couple of years under Andy was that many of the big games, when the questions were asked of them, they just didn't have the cohesion or the fight. Like I think the game this year in Croke Park, like they just threw in the towel after quarter of an hour. And look, that's a team that's not pulling together. It's a group that's not pulling together. And I think, look, when you see as I said earlier, when you see the likes of the Derrys of this world, and you've a team and a management that are in sync, you don't have to have the most talented teams in the world, but any intercounty team worth their salt now will die with their boots on. And that Meath team, there's something missing there with Andy in charge. And look, it's the right time for him to go. Like any new setup, I suppose you'd look to have a different kind of blend of. There's a number of different things, but every fella has to have a job, and look, that's what Kildare got with their management setup. But again, it's going to be a big rebuilding process there. There's 2 or 3 year project here to get if the players are there and they want to buy into it. Look, there's a big population in Meath. They have a lot of good footballers, but this is a 2 or 3 year job, I think, for whoever takes it. And it's a bit like Cork. It's going to be a slow one.
Yeah, there we go. So we wish Andy McLeod the best luck in his endeavours going forward after the breaking news tonight, lads. So there we go. So there's only one place to really start at the weekend. Yesterday's action, lads, in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship qualifier, round 1 in the Athletic Grounds. It was Armagh 116. Tyrone 110. Johnny Murty, you're a happy man, no doubt. This is a very, very convincing performance by the Orange men. They look like they trained very hard for this game, as you were saying earlier. The conditioning of the team looked unbelievable. Kieran Donaghy, Mr. McGeaney would be absolutely buzzing with that win. And Tyrone were just not at the races, Johnny.
Yeah, I think the 3 Kierans and Kieran McKeever's in there as well.
McKeever, yeah.
Yeah, they've worked savagely hard over the last 6 weeks. Again, Donegal, it's fair to say that they just didn't show up for whatever which reason. For whatever with league form and how they started, I've sort of seen yesterday that they're back to that level. They're back to the level of the start of the league, or the first couple of league games. They're sharp, they're hungry, the conditioning, they're strong in the tackle. Their discipline yesterday was actually phenomenal. I was very, very impressed with their discipline all over the field. Key battles, they won them. Would we be naive enough in Armagh to think that we bet the All-Ireland champions and we're going to go on and win All-Ireland? No. It's fair to say there's a few problems in Tyrone. There has been men has left the panel. There's been different things. They look like a team. They've a lot of good times and maybe gone a wee bit soft. So listen, Armagh needed a performance. They need to come out and fight. They needed fighting spirit. I think they showed all that yesterday. I think I was over the moon for the goalkeeper. He took a lot of flack from the Donegal game, and
Aidan Rafferty.
Yeah, he had an absolute savage game yesterday. Absolute savage. He kicked 2 points from play and pulled down for another one, and Rain got a point out of it. So. He was arguably the man of the match, along with James Morgan, phenomenal as well. But one thing I will flag up, and it's the fact of, if you watch it back and you see Aidan Nugent's goal, that Aidan Nugent's goal was purely, he had goal on his mind as soon as he got the ball. If you're sticking to the game plan now that senior teams are sticking to, that ball's going into that corner like a wall ball. It's coming back out and swinging back round the other end of the field, and you might get a chance at a point. He faked the dummy to the right, slight chink, and then he knew straight away what he had goal on his head. And that ultimately for me was a difference in Armagh. The ruthlessness was there that we hadn't seen, and the belief was there for that key, goal. The belief was there to say, right, I'm backing myself here and I'm going on. And, I thought, I will say that for Tyrone, there was a mismatch there. The man that was marking him is probably more of a fullback than a cornerback. A bit of a mismatch, and it took them a while to cop on, and they made the change. Mm-hmm. another man for me at a serious game when the game got into the melting pot was Rain. Rain's 40 or 50-yard kick passing crossfield balls was absolutely outrageous yesterday. Along with Campbell and a few lads that ran off the bench, Armagh didn't have that again. Donegal, a couple of boys only back from injury. They got a whole lot fresher. So, look, we're not going to be that naive about it. And actually, I'm over the moon with the draw. I think it's a great draw. I think
revenge, Johnny. I suppose yeah.
I wouldn't say revenge. No, I would say more like, if you look back,
redemption.
I just think we give a bad hand of ourselves, and the boys owes a lot after their performance in Ballybofey. Donegal, I think Armagh would have learned a lot from Donegal and Ballybofey, but what really did Donegal learn from Armagh? So that for me is going to be the thing, and I think this game is going to be damn close. And even though Armagh played none in Ballybofey, they only won 2 of their own kickouts the first half. They still could have been bang there. Only they just couldn't score for some reason, but they didn't have a problem doing it yesterday. So listen, I'm looking forward to another big weekend, John.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose on the game yesterday as well, Johnny, could you kind of believe the way Tyrone really were playing? Because obviously I think it was a very, very good performance by Armagh. I think Stupid Campbell was absolutely excellent for Armagh as well. But could you believe maybe Tyrone's intensity, lack of kind of game plan as well? I know Michael McKernan kind of got involved in off the ball stuff, and maybe focus was elapsing them once again, Johnny. So could you really believe maybe Tyrone's performance?
It hasn't been that really surprising. I think their discipline over the course of the season has been poor enough. They've been found, seems to be a problem that's creeped in. For me, and it's only my opinion, I think there's too much slobbering maybe going on social media, too much talking going on. Like the difference with Dublin, great Dublin team, won a few All-Irelands. You didn't get that. Everybody was all in the one hymn sheet. That was it. They motored on. There's a wee bit different this year. It's a bit of, I want a wee bit of limelight here. I want a bit of this. I want a bit of that. Great teams don't let that happen. They don't let that creep in. Like I'm not having to go to Tyrone. They done unbelievable last year, and they're phenomenal players, and they do have phenomenal players coming through, and they're going to be back. I just think they took their eye off the ball. Their intensity seemed to be back yesterday for most of the game compared to the previous game. They definitely were working a lot harder. I think a bit of belief or something was probably missing, and Armagh just wanted a wee bit more.
Yeah, touching on Armagh's performance, Johnny, it just looked, in fairness, for minute one, it was very, very good. It looked like there was a real game plan for minute one. I know, obviously, Tyrone getting the goal in the first minute, but Armagh definitely didn't let their heads drop. And so, what impressed you about, I suppose, Armagh's intensity? Because it really was a spirited performance compared to the Donegal game.
It was a difference in day and night, and to be honest with you, you nearly could say that McGeeney pulled the masterstroke. It certainly looked a wee bit like it.
Yeah.
Tyrone was going in as favourites, and Joe, what? I'd say, lads, Armagh was 6, 7, 8 points a better team, at least. Armagh could have put them away a lot sooner. Had been a wee bit more ruthless, but that'll come. I definitely think the first half we left a few behind us. Like I know Soup got man of the match, and he had a phenomenal game in the second half. He gave away a few balls the first half, and they got 2 or 3 points from it. A few easy hand pass balls give away when we had a load of runners on either side. Them few wee things tidied up. Next thing you're going in at half time, you're maybe 4 or 5 points up. So I definitely think there's more in the tank. But there's more improvement needed for tougher games, absolutely. But I think when you play like that and you can see a bit more improvement, so what more do you want?
Yeah. Kieran Donoghue's in huge praise of McGeeney after the game. Kieran McGeeney after the game yesterday as well, Johnny. So, in fairness, like McGeeney, he lives and breathes Armagh football. So, in fairness, like his first major result maybe for Armagh in the qualifiers, in such a high, octane game like it was yesterday. So, in fairness, it was a terrific result for him, and he badly needed it, Johnny.
Oh, he did. There's no doubt about it. And his back probably would have been against the wall. But like you said, he's Armagh. If you cut him in half, he's on to white. Like, there's no doubt about it. And that's just Kieran. He's Armagh through and through. And I honestly, genuinely, I was over the moon for him last night because it's been a long time coming. You see when you get into management, it's tough. Kieran always talks about the noise and trying to control the noise from the outside, and people have loads to say. And after the Donegal game, he would have been getting dogs in the street, but you turn around and take the All Ireland champions. That's his biggest scalp ever in championship football. So look at it goes to show you the GAA lads. 1 week you're down, and the next week you're on the top, and you know what? Next week it could be something else. So listen, we'll just enjoy the ride when it's here.
There you go. Finian, on your thoughts on events that took place in the athletic grounds yesterday.
Yeah, no, I'd agree a lot with what Johnny said there. In fairness, I know the two Kierans, McGeeney and McKeever. Like McKeever's, Johnny will agree, massive Armagh man, brilliant football man, loves his football, and he's Armagh to the core, no more than McGeeney, So they're great lads to have at the helm, and they would have been hurting big time after the Donegal match. And I remember saying after the Donegal match, like, people were talking about McGeeney, this, that, and the other, but he's getting so much out of those players. He's rinsing every ounce out of them, and I'm sure there's no stone but left unturned. And yesterday, in fairness, when you're playing a game like that, it's you're under pressure for 6 weeks. Jobs are on the line. Like the Armagh mob would have been out. Everyone would have been out again if they had fallen flat or whatever it was. But they went out. They stuck to their principles. The kick passing game from Aidan Forker, beautiful kick passer with the ball, long time playing, like kind of an unsung hero, sticks in there full back, and I think he was a forward when he started playing. But
Forker looked like he really knew what he was at yesterday. Like he looked like he was really clued in. Like, and the last game was caught out, but he looked really clued in yesterday.
He did, yeah. Like when he's kick passing out into the halfway line, and then you've got the likes of Reno O'Neill getting on the ball, kick passing long balls in, like the ball into Mernon at the end for that score. It was just beautiful. It was a throwback. You don't see that now because look at the likes of Louth in comparison or other teams. We're in the qualifiers. We've lost 2 games. Now we need to finish with a bit of respect or whatever it is and throw in the towel and put everyone behind the ball. Armagh didn't do that. They were brilliant to watch. I was delighted for the boys, and they deserved it. They were way better, as Johnny says. They were 7-8 points better than Tyrone yesterday. Tyrone they're just flat. They wanted the year to be over. All Ireland champions and no All Ireland champions, it doesn't really matter. They were just, with all the stuff that went on and the people leaving and a bit of unrest and all that sort of stuff, it's just affected them, and they just cut their losses. They'll have the Canavans and these guys more experienced next year, even from the start. So they'll be looking to just get out of Dodge this year, back at it in November, December. But look, Armagh will give Donegal buckets of it this time, absolute buckets. They won't they won't look a gift horse in their mouth. They know Donegal's kind of minds are on the floor a bit after the Ulster final. For Donegal to come so close and then to lose to a Derry, I think confidence is down. Now Armagh are going to be going in with their collars up, and I think it'll be a very intriguing game. And no one will want to play Armagh now because the brand of football they're playing. Like if I was playing in the full back line against Armagh, I'd be worried. With balls coming from the likes of Reno O'Neill, it'd be like playing against a Kieran MacDonald in his pomp, pumping balls in on top of you where you don't know where they're going. Like it was brilliant to watch. I was delighted for them, and they were full value for their win.
I suppose kind of touched on to what I was saying to you, Johnny Finian. What impressed you most about Armagh's performance? Because it just looked so well organised, and they just kind of support runners going up through the middle the whole time. And I keep saying it, but Soupy Campbell just showed it was just a marquee performance by him yesterday. So just a very good day for the Orangemen.
Yeah. Look, the likes of James Morgan, like they won battles all over the pitch. They were just on it, and I think coming to the end of the league, and particularly in the Donegal match, it was kind of a fighting Armagh, which was a bit stupid. It was kind of, you know, trying to give away fouls and be the kind of tough guys and ruffle up opponents. But Armagh have plenty of footballers in the ranks, the likes of James Morgan, who can take a man on his own. You know, he can mark a man. You know, Fork are the same. They're littered with players throughout the pitch, and they've good subs to come on. But I was very impressed with, you know, just their fielding, their kick passing was absolutely second to none. They loved that pitch. You know, Mernon came on and kicked two great scores. A big man to put in the full forward line. You wouldn't like to see him coming. You know, I just thought the organisation. I think they knew what they were doing. They had it all planned out. It wasn't a case of brawn and, you know, tough and shoulders out and start ruffling feathers and, you know, worried. I don't think they were worried about a derby or the local rivalry or any of that stuff. They stuck to what they were doing. They didn't care who they were playing against. I think they would have beaten a lot of teams yesterday the way they were playing. To be honest, I was very impressed with their intensity. But yeah, the likes of James Morgan. If you've got players like that at the back, you can be a bit braver going forward. So yeah, no, they were excellent.
Tyrone, Finian. Yeah, as you said, probably trying to get out of Dodge for the rest of the year. Just it was a very lethargic performance once again. So, you know, there's obviously they've had a kind of on the back foot straight away, losing 7 players before the year even got started, Finian. So, not a great year for the Red Hat County.
No. It's look, even last year when they won the All Ireland, it wasn't without a bit of controversy with the COVID stuff, and you know there was a bit of a backlash. And I suppose if everyone's against you, it's a little bit easier when you've got the siege mentality and you have good footballers in your rank, which Tyrone do. In fairness, they've some fine footballers. But look, Conor McKenna didn't get to the pitch of it this year. Colin McShane was, you know, a shadow of what we saw last year and the year before. You know, like those type of players, they were the main players really over the last while, and they were just way off it. You know, Conor Patrick. You know, we were talking about him at the start of the year to be up there with the likes of Brian Fenton. He wasn't. You know, he was doing his best, but you know, Tyrone need the collective. They really need the collective. They're built on the collective for the last 30, 40 years, and when the collective goes, you know, the whole thing. You know, we've seen it after years. They've won the All Ireland 5, you know, 6. 4, you know, just things get a bit kind of, they're not all together, then they're easier to beat. I know our lads bet them by 20 points down in Tune one day, and you could see at the start of the match that they all weren't singing off the same hymn sheet. But just to go back to Soupy Campbell, it was like he was a throwback to I remember he played in the rain in Croke Park in 2013 or 14 when Armagh got to the quarterfinals, and he was, you know, he reminded me of that yesterday. He was quick passing. He was just back on it. And that's nearly 10 years ago, you know. So like,
he looks in great nick too. Yeah,
he does. He was that good then. He was a phenomenal footballer then. He was one of the best forwards in the. I think he was nominated for an All-Star, and he's kind of been up and down. And I don't know, you know, look, you don't know what goes on with people, but he's a dangerous forward. And in Croke Park, if they get there, you know, God love the man Western Markham. But no, look, Tyrone will regroup. They'll be back. Yeah, the 2 Canadians are there. They're going nowhere, you know, and they've got under. They obviously won't be under 20s. So yeah, they you know, they'll rebuild for next year and they'll be a threat again.
No doubt they will. Mr. Goulin, your thoughts on yesterday's game in the Athletic Grounds?
Yeah, look, I suppose if you look even from the very start of the year, Armagh set their stall out against Dublin, the very first game of the year, what they were trying to be about for the year, and I suppose had a very good league. Had the final Donegal game in the league, then where they had the incident with the fight at the end, and I suppose had a lot of focus taken off the Donegal game, talking about suspensions and who was going to be playing and who wasn't going to be playing, and that probably definitely affected them. But look, I think they got back to, I suppose, what had seen them have a good league campaign, disciplined, liking to move the ball forward, defensively well set up, can score from a number of different ways. I think they had 10 scores again yesterday. And look, to be fair, I think they were in much better form bar the Donegal game, and if you took the Donegal game out of it, they've been going well this year, whereas look, there's been red flags with Tyrone since the start of the year. Bar the Kerry game, where I think they were in a hole, and they seem to have a hoodoo over Kerry anyway when they went down to Clare and beat them. They've been struggling all year. They struggled against Fermanagh. They were terrible against Derry, and look, this result shouldn't come as a shock at all, really, given how Tyrone were going. And look, I think Johnny's right. I think Higuini saw this and had his team on tune for this, and they had 6 weeks of no interruptions, no talk of suspensions. They just put their shoulders to the wheel and were totally focused going in there, whereas Tyrone did not regroup from the Derry game. I suppose it was going to be hard for them to regroup anyway, but I think, look, Tyrone are playing a bit as individuals at the moment, and they're relying on McCurry to get a lot of their scores. Whereas, look, you can see Armagh are playing for each other totally, and their focus is just on winning as a team. Whereas, I don't know what's going on in Tyrone. When you hear stories coming out of camps, no matter how small they are, look, there's something going on there anyway. And it's always hard to handle winning All Irelands when you're not used to it. And the next year can always be rocky. The egos for J players are big things, and there's nothing to boost an ego like winning the All Ireland, and it's how you manage that. That's where Dublin's changed. The Dublin's, they'd win their All Ireland, and they were going to win the league next year as well, and they were setting the scene straight away. Whereas I think Tyrone got a bit like most counties do, got into their own hype, and I suppose some fellas leaving the panel then because they were disillusioned, and others leaving because they were probably coming to the end, and there's just a bit of instability there. And look, I think the two lads are right. Armagh are going to be a tough nut for anyone now, and you wouldn't fancy playing them because it's not as if this performance is a flash in the pan. But bar the Donegal game, they've been good all year. So yeah, look, fair due to them. And look, I suppose Ethan Rafferty, it's brilliant to see. Really, we've seen our free taking goalies, but we've seen a goalie to be able to contribute that much in a game is, look, it's another string to the different types of structures and tactics and formations we've seen over the last year or two. But look, this is a far more positive one as opposed to some of the tactics that are being deployed at the moment. So yeah, look, a special mention for him.
Yeah, no, interested to get your thoughts on that, because obviously when Cork did win the All Ireland in 2010, get to the final in 2009, Dan, you know, in 2011, like, you know, for the years he did have obviously Dublin won the All Ireland that year. You know, what maybe in 2011, what you feel you changed 2012, 13 onwards?
You know, I think we actually handled it well enough. We won the league the next year again. I think injuries just crippled us. Myself, Kieran, Shane, Colm O'Neill, cruciate ankles all gone. We just had a bad run of injuries. But look, I suppose any given year, it's a hard competition to win. But like you see with Tyrone, they're just so far off it. There's red flags everywhere going on, discipline in the league. Stories of some lads missing trainings, this kind of stuff coming out. Look, they're red flags. And when you meet a hungry Armagh team that have probably taken a lot of abuse after the Donegal game, you can't just switch form on and off like a tap. And look, Tyrone were trying to do that this year, and look, it caught up with them.
Definitely. And just the last word on Mr. McGeaney, Dan, obviously he badly needed that win, and he got it, and obviously Kieran Donaghy, huge praise from him after the game. Yeah,
look, I suppose what Kieran McGeaney's done for football in Armagh, and look how he's contributed to Kildare. Look, he's obviously a serious operator, and he's evolved as well in terms of his tactics and his approach. And look, I think he could have been perceived as being a bit negative when he was with Kildare, but this Armagh team, they're defensively well set, but the kick passing out of them is, look, it's better than what we're seeing from most other teams at the moment, bar the Dublins and the Kerrys. And I really feel this year, look, they set their stall out early, and I think there was an inner confidence in the group with him, and I think Kieran Donaghy is supposed to be a huge addition to them in terms of tactically going forward. And you can see that the players want to play for him. And there's 3 or 4 counties that really have this at the moment. They're a kind of cohesive unit, and you see what area are after achieving with the same kind of belief. And look, Armagh, I think, have that this year. Granted, they were beaten by Donegal, but look, I still think they know what they're about. They believe in it, and if you don't match them with intensity, it's going to be a tough day for you. They dominated the kickouts yesterday. on both sides of the ball, and that comes down to preparation and knowing your role. And you can see that Armagh put in a huge amount of work, led by McGeaney over the last 6 weeks in this year. And look, good for him to get the victory, because to be fair to him, I'd imagine for the amount of effort he's put in, you don't want to see it ending badly from with a result losing to Tyrone when you have all these good players.
There we go. Yeah, events wrapped up in the Leather Grounds nicely, lads. Here we go, and we can move on to yesterday's Tailteann Cup action briefly in Brewster Park. Tailteann Cup quarter-final, you had Cavan 2-16, Fermanagh 13 points, and Finian, obviously we definitely thought a tighter game was going to happen. It didn't happen, and Cavan coasted on victory. Thomas Callaghan goal within the first few seconds of the game.
Yeah, no, they were full value. They weren't. I don't think they were going to get caught. They're favourites for a reason. Everyone is looking at them to win this cup, win this out. They believe themselves, and a lot of people believe they should be, in the top 16. I suppose they've fallen down the pecking order, but they'd be really looking to win this, get directly into the All Ireland next year. So they have a big chance. Yesterday they were full value. Thomas Callaghan, Lynch, they're it's fine footballers in Cavan. There's Faulkner. And then the bench as well, the lads coming off Fortune and the lads, they're guys who could start, so there's plenty of ballers up there. Killian and Clark is still driving them forward, set up a couple of scores yesterday as well. So, look, they were never going to Brewster Park is tough, but I just think they've way too much for Fermanagh. Fermanagh without Quigley. Quigley kicked eight points yesterday. He was kind of carrying. I think they were mostly from frees, but unless he's kicking 3, 4, 5 from play, and a few others are pitching in, they're not really going to compete. So look, Cavan were full value for the win, and they're looking like they're going to give you some joy up there, John, and raise the Tailteann Cup. We'll have to all go to Croke Park that night for that.
100%. Yeah, no, a very, very convincing win for the Cavan lads, and on to go to the semi-final now in a few weeks' time against Sligo. And in the other, this is a good game, lads, in the Tailteann Cup quarter-final in Cork and Shannon. It was Sligo 119, Leitrim 216 after extra time, and Sligo won 4-3 on penalties. Finian, you look very frustrated. I think there's a lot of frustrated Leitrim people today. Finian, go ahead.
I'm frustrated, John, because like I don't like giving out about officials, and I don't know, but like Christ above, Shane Moran's goal was a clear goal as you'll ever see. There was nowhere near a square ball. I don't know what the umpires are doing. I don't know what's going on or what's the point, because there's these calls, the training that's going on. Like Andy Moran had those boys training hard all year, and that would have put them 3 up into extra time, momentum with them. I'm disappointed in the call, to be honest. I don't know what the other boys think, but Jesus, it's not on. Like it's not on. Look, Sligo won, but it was a great game. Went to penalties, could have went anyway. Keeper makes a save at the end, and I suppose it's what's great about the competition and great about teams playing like a local derby in Carrick and Shannon between two similar level teams was brilliant. But I just think Leitrim are a bit hard done by, to be honest, and could have taken the win if that goal was allowed.
Johnny, Dan, any thoughts on the game yesterday?
Well, I think Finian hit the nail on the head. They were definitely hard done by. It looked like a clear goal to me, and Tony McGinty's side got the rub of the green. It was a high scoring affair. It was you have a go, I'll have a go, you have a go. And it was open game of football. Yeah, it was open game of football, and some brilliant scores taken by both teams. The penalties, the keeper did well to save a couple of penalties, and Sligo definitely are very lucky to be in the next round. And it's tough on Andy because he has put in a lot of work, and there has been some lackluster performances in the league. But the championship, you can definitely see improvement in them. And as Finian says, they're two very similar teams. You probably would expect a wee bit more out of Sligo. Sligo would have a far bigger pick than Leitrim, and you'd expect more. And I know they are putting in a lot of work there at underage in Sligo, so you'd be sort of hoping they can kick on a wee bit in the future, but it takes a wee rub of the green sometimes for that to happen, and for your luck to go your own way. And you just have to run with it, and it's probably all you can say about it.
Dan?
Yeah, look, I thought it was a goal as well. And look, I'd go a step further as well, and having championship games finished on penalties isn't for me either.
Okay, I was going to ask you, yeah.
Yeah, not for me. It's just there's too much time and effort to finish a game like that for me. They're not professional soccer players. It's not their job to score penalties. I'd say if you've first to score 3 points or a goal wins, that play it to the latter. So, something to that extent where it's finished. So some more normal rooms to what we're akin to extra time. But look, I only saw the highlights, obviously, like everyone else. Just thought Keith Byrne and Alan Riley were two opposite teams, but they kicked some scores, and the Alan Riley got one in the second half where he carried it about 30 yards across the goal and shot from near the sideline. And great games that you don't get to see in competitive games, and a lot better than some of the games that are on that are these tactical games where you could watch pay and enjoy it. It'd be as exciting, and it's just a pity you don't get to see more of these games, or at least a bit more coverage on the Sunday game. They're dealt with in a couple of minutes, and look, that's disappointing as well. But yeah, look, I think Sligo round out the result, albeit they got a bit of fortune with the decision in extra time, but I still think it should be Kevin's name on the cup, all barring. I still think they have a bit too much. I think Kevin will see out this, I think, when it comes to it. Johnny's shaking his head there. He disagrees with me.
Oh, Johnny is.
I wouldn't disagree. I do think Cavan will be favourites, but I wouldn't just write Westmeath off yet either.
Yeah.
If look at Heslin is a serious operator, lads. If he's on his game, there's very few in the country that can match it, and that's Cavan is definitely going to be favourites, and they do have the players. There's no doubt about it. There wouldn't be a foregone conclusion. Definitely not.
I hate Cavan. I
love Cavan. I love Cavan.
You do when you're.
You'd have nothing to slag off if Cavan wasn't there.
I praised Cavan the last game for 20 minutes. The last time it was on.
No, you're right, Johnny. Westmeath definitely have a chance. We go down to the wire. Cavan are favourites for a reason, because they won the Ulster Championship 2 years ago. But Westmeath are definitely, they've been thereabouts, latter stages in the Leinster the last couple of years. As Johnny says, John Heslin's there. They've some good players raking out, and they're experienced enough side, good managers. So look, it'd be great. A Westmeath Cavan final would be a dinger, I think.
And there's yesterday game, Sligo and Leitrim. Does that do the Tailteann Cup the world of good, lads?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For whoever was at it, anyway.
Yeah, well, that's as Dan says. You would like to see more of it, but it definitely looked like an unbelievable game from what we've seen.
On the defence of the Sunday game, it's 2 hours of action, so maybe it was hard to fit in a lot of the analysis around the Tailteann Cup, lads. Maybe because so many games on.
Maybe too much analysis.
What's the point of it then? If we can't see it, it comes back to do we have other highlight shows? Is there
on a Monday or Tuesday? Yeah,
show these games. I don't know. It's just there's got to be a bit more, because again, we've only shown the semi-finals. We need to read the first year of this, particularly the maiden year of this.
You need to.
Needs to be promoted to the hill.
Semi-finals are an RT,
token promotions. 100%, but it needs to be promoted. And look, is it the final answers to this? I don't know. Is it? I think we still need a round robin. It'd be great to see Leitrim go out next week and play again, or and not to just cut the season. Maybe have 3 games or 4 games. 2 groups of 4, whatever it is. I don't know how it works, but more of a Champions League style or whatever, where teams are getting more games or whatever. So I think that's the future for it.
Absolutely, that's absolutely. And the other Tailteann Cup quarter-final in Netwatch Cullen Park, he had Westmeath 121, Carlow 213, and I have to say, Dan, the Carlow footballers, obviously they're going out of the championship, their season's over, but did a very poor league campaign. Fair play to them, kind of turning it around.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think they had a management change and it made a big difference. Look, they gave Westmeath plenty of it, albeit Westmeath always seemed in control, but Armagh hung in there, and I think the long ball into the full forward line gave Westmeath a lot of trouble. But look, Westmeath's class, and as Johnny said, John Heslin, and he kicked 1-9, and look, he was the difference between them. He's the class act on the pitch, and that showed. And again, as we've said this before, very hard to do any proper analysis on this when you don't get to see it. Good expected win for Westmeath, but I thought they'd actually have a bit more to spare, being honest with you. I thought they'd be in a bit better control than what it was. No, I know they were away, but still. But yeah, look, builds up to semi-finals now, and New York as well. I thought they got their first point in Irish soil since 2001, so I suppose that's as good as it got for them. Look, Offaly as well. I know I haven't moved on to it yet, but Offaly have some good footballers. I was watching their highlights, and geez, I watched them the last game. I watched them against Cork in the last game of the league as well, and Cork were haunted to get out of there, and Cork would have been wide open at the back, but Offaly have some good footballers, and be interesting to see how they get on the semi-final as well. No, that was no test for them, I know, but I still think they're moving in the right direction as well.
Yeah, the right men's in place as well. Tomás O'Shea and John Monaghan. In fairness, if them boys can't get the ship in order, I don't know what will. And moving on to Saturday's action, lads, in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship qualifiers, round 1. In Cusack Park, you had Clare 1-11, Meath 1-9. And Johnny, Andy McEntee's last game as the Meath manager, a good win for Clare, probably expected.
Yeah, it would have been expected for Clare. You know, and we spoke about Andy McEntee there before. It was, listen, Jacqueline Hyde, or whatever you want to describe Meath, they've just gone stale. And it's a pity, you know. Like, Clare had a good goal from Pierce Lillis, I think, got the goal. And you know, Owen Cleary, boys, had a serious game. And a right look at this game. He threw dummies left and right, and he kicked some phenomenal scores. I think he might even actually set up that goal there with a high ball in, if I'm not mistaken. But you know, the Clare was full value for the win, but I don't know what the boys think. I still would have thought a wee bit more of Clare.
More point margin win.
Yeah, well, maybe a wee bit better of a performance. I think. I think probably the second half I would have expected more of them. You know, it'd be interesting to hear the lads' uptake on it. But look at it. Listen, the win's a win. They're into the next game, and that's all they care about. Convincing enough. So, you know, and we spoke about Meath. Listen, they put up a wee bit of a fight, but I think in the end it was sort of Monaghan boys, and as the lads alluded to there earlier, but they talked about Tyrone and Armagh. You don't have that grit and determination and that togetherness in the team. It's hard to grind out any sort of results, you know. So, definitely the best team won, John, from what I've seen of it.
Any take on that, lads? Or?
Yeah, I think Clare probably should have won by more. It could have been 3-11 or 4-11 quite easily. Missed the penalty. Missed another one-on-one just after that. I think their shooting left them down a bit, which is actually very unlike Clare. I saw them against Cork in the league, and they were ultra efficient up top, but. Yeah, I think Johnny's right. Comes back to a very cohesive setup in what Collins has going on in Clare versus what's going on in Meath, and Clare have shown through the league that they're a serious team and they can't be taken for granted. And look, this result was expected, and I think if their shooting boots on, it would have been a bit more. Just one thing to add, Owen Cleary is some footballer, lads. He's a serious footballer. And David Tuberty, in fairness, and how he's still going at that level, is like, it's a testament to him, obviously, but to their group, that he feels that he can commit to a group like that. They obviously are a very tight knit group, and they're making the best out of themselves. And again, Kildare will have their bellies full of it with them, I think.
Yeah, there we go, lads. There we go. And moving on to Castlebar, lads. It was Mayo 113, Monaghan 12 points, and I suppose Finian. If anyone was watching this game, probably not a game for the purists. I think we all expected a lot more. We definitely expected a lot more from Monaghan. Mayo got over the line, but yeah, I think if you're at anything else Saturday evening, you probably should have stuck to it.
It was flat, yeah, John. To be honest, it was flat. It was like two teams now that had been sucker punched in their provincials, and they were back to just try and get over the line. You know, we've seen Mayo time and time again scrape over the first round of the qualifiers and end up, last kick of the game losing the All Ireland. So I wouldn't rule them out. We can't rule them out. I suppose we can talk about them till the cows come home, but we can't rule them out being at the latter stages of the championship. Like, anyone who does is an idiot, given what we've seen in the last 10 years. But they got over the line. Durkin was back. Henley was back. Up top, obviously not as efficient, but I suppose you're missing Ryan O'Donoghue. Killian O'Connor was kind of calling the shots up there. I wasn't overly impressed with Aidan Orme or, the guys who came in to replace them. I don't think they were adding a lot more. Do you know what I mean? They didn't score a whole pile. They do really miss Tommy Conroy and obviously Ryan O'Donoghue as well. So
yeah.
Look, as ever, Mayo's running game coming from the back, their half back line. Keegan coming up kicking a point like Lee Keegan, lads, for God's sake.
Machine.
We're talking about lads in their 30s, but like, this guy is just phenomenal footballer. He's a phenomenal footballer. He's one of the greatest wing backs of all time. Not afraid to say it, but he's just, he can mark, he can get forward, kicks the score when he needs it. He's efficient on the ball, but like, he really drove them forward again, but he can only do it for so long. But I suppose, look, Stephen Cohen, Paddy Durkin, those guys were driving forward in the back. Typical kind of Mayo performance. Aidan O'Shea driving forward into the space, trying to pop the ball off, and lads coming on the loop, and just.
How did they keep doing it, Finian, though? How does Aidan O'Shea keep it going year after year after year? Like, it's the greatest form of madness. Like,
they see it. You don't know these guys, John. They're, Mayo's they're just bulletproof to that sort of stuff. They just see the next game and get into All Irelands. They don't care where they are. They just go out and they've great kind of tunnel vision when it comes to games, that they can just get on with it. Like, they lose to Galway, they won't be sitting there, Jesus, we should have won or we should have lost. They could get hammered the next day, but they won't mind that either. They just love football, and they love getting out on the pitch, and they believe in themselves so much. It's unreal. For all the All Irelands they've lost and all the history, the belief down there is unbelievable. They don't care about anybody, and that's a fact. They will fear no one. Kerry, Dublin, they won't fear anyone playing. Galway, they don't fear anybody, So, it's a credit to them. Look, I don't know, the supporters are going to spend, if they do go far, they're going to spend a pretty penny this year, given the cost of hotels and diesel and whatnot. But look, Monaghan, I don't know what to say about Monaghan. I had high hopes for Monaghan and Ulster this year, but look, McManus, Hughesy, they're all, they have a lot of miles in the clock. And
what's the McManus score, lads? Did anyone know? Take note, no?
Points from free.
2 or 3 points? 2 points?
2 or 3 points.
1 point from free.
It wasn't much.
Probably 2.
1 point, lads.
Yeah. Look, he's coming. He's 36 years of age. He can only, look, he's been one of the best. He's been brilliant, but they have to look to the future now. Those guys have a lot of mileage, and it's not as if they're picking from a very small population. And I know I don't want to insult anyone in Monaghan. That's just the facts. Their population is small, so they're pulling from the same pool over and over again, and they haven't done that. Like, a lot of the Monaghan players, their careers have been long. You go back to JP and Desi Moan, they played long careers. Vinnie Corey, long careers. These guys are still playing long careers. They're not turning over a huge amount of players. Paul Finlay and these guys. So, look, if McManus goes, Hughes goes, Kieran Hughes, can they replace him? Drew Wiley, great footballer. He's kind of been on the bench. Colin Walsh, what has happened to him? He was an all-star, and he's only coming off the bench. Johnny might be able to tell us more about that. But look, they need a shake-up. They're still in Division 1. They can shake it up. Banty will probably stay on, but disappointing for them. I think Mayo just got over the line. Bad game, but I think it was a case of just getting over the line. Just a word on the penalty, though. I suppose if that was given, then it's a different outlook. It could have went to extra time.
What's the penalty, Finian?
I think it was. I think the Lee Keegan incident was. Yeah, they'd be given out the pitch. I think, you know.
I thought it was 100% of Johnny Shea, 100% of penalty.
Yes.
Wrap them with two hands like it's and
Johnny,
tripped them
you're
as well.
shaking your head, Johnny. Shaking your head.
I just think Keegan's been around too many corners, and he was cute enough to let go at the right time.
Yeah.
And for me, there's two things in this, and it's that man Aidan O'Shea again. What in the name of God was that man at? You know, and this is the thing. Even the referee was 50 yards away from the play because even he thought the ball was coming out the field. You know, so yes, when you look at the replay of it,
Sonny, it should have been a penalty for that pass alone.
Well, no, that's a different story. I think you're right there.
But the referees would normally give those. You know, if you give it back,
yeah,
they normally say, "Look, fuck it, you've effed this up. You've made your own bed. You now lie in it, and that's it. You put your hands in them or whatever." So I'm surprised it wasn't given.
Yeah.
I think for me, Daniel, and I know you said, Daniel, it was 100% penalty, right? But there's a couple of ways, and I've looked back at it. Now, the player goes to go into contact instead of he didn't have to go into contact. Whereas, you know, I know he's not a familiar player, right? Fair enough. But I do think if it was Alexi yourself, you wouldn't have went into contact, and you probably would have put the ball in the net. You know, that's the difference for me. He went looking contact, he got it. Keegan was cute enough not to hold on too long, and the referee was 50 yards away. It was a tough call, you know. So I think
down as well.
Yeah, when you see it back, absolutely you give it. But I think the way the thing panned out, you know, and as you say, the back pass from Aidan O'Shea alone, he fucking deserved the goal. But look at listen, lads, for me, would I be worried about Mayo going down the stretch? The full forward line scored 2 points in play between the three of them. You know, whenever big scores was needed, Lee Keegan come up and got a score, Duncan come up and got a score. You know, Owen McLaughlin hits the net at the start of the second half, game's over. There's no way back. That's curtains, and it should have been a goal, boys. So, you know, I was, and after we bit of a sour taste in my mouth, you know, listening to Banty after the game, going on making excuses.
He said they were robbed, yeah.
You know, he went way over the top. He's probably trying to hold on to his job, right? Whatever. But you know, I think in the course of the game, the best team won. Yeah. It was a poor performance by both, but the best team won on the day. I don't think Monaghan can have that much complaints, to be honest.
Mayo weren't even that good, Johnny. Like, could you even say the best? Like, how would you even analyse the game? Who was? I don't even. You couldn't even nearly say Mayo were the best team. I don't know who was the best team.
Well, could you say Monaghan was, like, you know?
No,
that's
the problem.
The turning point in the game was McManus black card, you know, and like Mayo, I think maybe got 1-3 when he was off the field. That was it. And like I said about McLaughlin, should have rifled the net. You know, that was curtains. The other talking point, was it a black card?
That's what I was going to ask you, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. Tripped him.
I think he was unlucky. You know, I think it was more clumsy than that, but going by the rules, it's a black card. But I think there was enough of
an action there. It wasn't a natural reaction. I think he stuck out his leg, like, unfortunately. No, it was soft, like, but by the rule.
He probably wouldn't need the man might have fell over himself, you know. So look at it.
Yeah. No, Mayo. You're right. Mayo are the better team. They had the chances or whatever. It's just, as you say, inside forward line. But I suppose they've been getting there with that. They've been falling over the line in these qualifiers, and it was just about getting the dirty diesel out and moving on for Mayo, I think, and moving to the next round. But they're not finished articles yet.
Finley, we've been on this with 2 years now, saying about their Achilles heel being up front, and that comes from even their half back line. Even their half back line don't score enough for the amount of times they get up the pitch.
It's a relentless attitude.
Until they rectify their scoring efficiency, that they're going to keep trudging through qualifiers and getting to semi-final. We've talked about this numerous times, and when they come to the real crunch, if they don't get their scoring efficiency up, because they're such an athletic team and an intense team, they're going to have their chances. But until such time that they can get their shooting efficiency up at what is it, 60? You need 60%, I'd say, to win at the back end. No, 60, 70%.
75.
Yeah, like they're probably down at 45, 50 at the moment, and until they rectify that, they're not gonna lift Sam, I suppose, which is their ultimate aim. They'll come close because they'll match any team with intensity or physicality or fitness, but it's just
quality up front.
The quality up front, and that cost them the All-Ireland final as well last year. Was the exact same thing.
Yeah, but you know, one thing that Finian hit the nail on the head, like how long can these older players keep putting out fires?
That's
you know,
insane,
you're talking about winning All Irelands. How can they keep putting out fires even to even get that far? Can they get over the next round?
Kildare's fresh. Kildare pose a lot of questions.
Mayo are funny though, lads. I know these lads they're getting older, but they still haven't slowed up. Yeah, I know. The lads they're depending on still haven't slowed up, if you ask me. Keegan hasn't slowed up though. Yeah. Even I actually thought bar that pass from Aidan O'Shea's was one of his best games for a long time.
Yeah, he's actually he's playing well this year, Aidan O'Shea. He's doing a lot of.
I thought he was good the last day. Yeah.
Midfield is suiting him. You know, he's getting up and getting back, and you know, he's not going to score, but he's definitely more efficient this year with the ball and off the ball. He's tackling than he has been in other years. Yeah.
But it's just he's just prone to switching off, and when he switches off, lads, you know that's he's a phenomenal player when he's on his game. It's when he switches off, he can be highly dangerous, you know, and that's the thing, you know.
100%.
Where do you play him, lads?
No,
I think midfield's his position. Even with the element of switching off, I think he's not agile enough, or he doesn't have the quickness to get onto ball in the forward line anymore. Unfortunately, he needs to be coming onto the ball.
Big presence, big midfield unit. Yeah.
Johnny, you make a very good point regarding Banty just changing up his backroom team, but you know, not great success in the Ulster Championship last couple of years. That's what Monaghan really want to cash in on. The future for Banty, lads.
Well,
being realistic,
I think there'll be a change up in guard again. He's done it, you know, when he was first to go from Monaghan years ago. He got rid of county stalwarts. There was in his backroom team Jerry McCarver for one as a one, and you know, took them in, met them. The boys thought they were planning out the year, and next thing they're all gone. He was the last man standing, you know, so he freshened it up. You know, many different men has gone through this. I think, you know, I think Buckley maybe possibility might stay. There's a performance analysis coach. I don't know what he's at. There's a few different, you know, McKaig and Corey. I'd like to see them get a wee bit more experience. You know, McKaig's done a lot of work with underage within the county.
Yeah.
You know, but lads, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to call it out. Like he's with under 20s. He's with Scottstown junior team, and he's putting great work there for his club. You know, but you know, I'd like to see these guys with a wee bit more experience, maybe even taking club senior teams, getting a wee bit more managerial experience before you go into a role like that. Like Monaghan's Division 1 team and top tier. You know, like I just don't think there's enough there. You know, and I said this in the podcast before, like I was a wee bit more worried for Monaghan because I would like to see a good forwards coach in there with them. I do think they've good players coming through. I know a lot of young guys. There's a few guys that decide to step away, like Tyrone. I would probably be worried that he'll be fit to stay on and maybe ride out the backroom team, and then, you know, like there's a right few coaches who went through there, lads, in the last 3 or 4 years, like no doubt about it. You know, I know what the boys think, but I think you could do with a freshening up across the board.
Do you sense retirements, Johnny?
Oh, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if McManus is gone. Maybe Darren Hughes is gone. it'd be hard maybe for Kieran to stay if the Aaron's gone, to be honest. I know he's just married there not that long ago, and good fellas, great fellas, and hard working lads, and off the field they're very hard working, so they're real good lads. Like I spoke about Conor before, I think he's phenomenal. Monaghan's best ever player, and he puts himself through the ringer to be fit to play. I think whatever chance he's going to have of playing with his beloved club, he's probably just going to have to call county quits at this stage. Like there's certain guys and characters around there, like Dermot Malone, for example, had to step away last year with a knee injury. It's the character of the like of him. Monaghan couldn't replace, even having him around the dressing room, and any of the Monaghan boys you're talking, they'll tell you that he's that well thought of and that well got, and he's actually be a coach. I'd be tipping for the future. He understands the game inside out. So it's certain guys like him and McManus, and talking about Drew Wiley there, and different guys like that. Monaghan can't afford to lose guys like them, because they bring leadership to the table, and they bring understanding, and it could be tough for a while. It could be a rebuild job, to be honest with you. I'd like to see a new management team given a few years, a wee bit of time, and they do have good young players coming through. I've been very, very impressed with the through man there. In the full forward line, Gary
Moen, yeah,
has been exceptional this year, and he's a big able fellow. He's only going to get better. He's a bit of bite about him. He's a bit of biting him, So, and there's other players like that. Right? There's loads of other players coming through Monaghan that I wouldn't hurt tell of, and I would like to see a bit of a rebuild now, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what the next few weeks and months bring in. Oh, lovely stuff. All Ireland Senior Football Championship qualifier round 1. Páirc-Uí Chaoimh, Cork 2-12, Louth 2-8. Daniel Goulding, how are you feeling?
This was a doozy, lads. Some game.
We had a big man.
No, I came back from the sevens, and we just got back for the throw-in. I watched it on Jago. God, lads, I've never seen, as defensive as I've seen teams in the past, this definitely took the biscuit. I've never seen anything like it. Or the Cork goalie could kick the ball out to the middle of the field, and the two Cork midfielders would have 40 yards space in front of them. And you had the whole Cavan team inside the 45. The whole Louth team inside the 45.
Oh, we're not as bad as Louth, don't worry.
No, yeah, but I've never seen anything like it. And you know what? Horrendous game to watch, and Cork struggled for long periods to break it down. Cork fell into the trap of nearly putting all their 15 men inside the 45 with them for long periods, and it just totally clogged it up. And eventually, with about 20 minutes, then Cork decided to hold the ball around the middle, and eventually had to draw Louth out, because Louth had to go looking for the ball because they were down a few points, and then Cork picked them off. But look, good for Cork to get a win. I suppose it was the draw they would have wanted. It was the perfect draw. Louth would have seen it as a good draw too, but Cork got over the line, and I suppose they got another very favourable draw again, the best draw in it, I suppose, with Limerick at home. So not a foregone conclusion. It'll be a tough game, but still one of the easier draws. Do you know what Cork have, in fairness? I'd say they've Brian Hurley and Stephen Sherlock inside, and those two lads are lethal. Hurley looked back to he'd been carrying a shoulder injury the whole league. He shouldn't have been playing the whole league, and he looked back to his best yesterday and kicked 1-4.
How impressive was you were playing with him, Dan?
It's a great bit of stuff. Oh, he's both feet, powerful, can win his own ball. He just was getting injured too much. He just so much bad luck with hamstring injuries. But when he's fit and he gets a run at it, he's a serious player. Himself and Sherlock now last year in the club championship literally could not be marked by anyone. Teams double marking them, just couldn't be stopped, either of them. Sherlock from place balls is lethal, even off the ground. He kicked, I'd say, 3 or if not 4 from 45 on the wings in poor conditions. And look, as long as Cork have those two lads, they'll still take a bit of watching. I suppose the only other thing I took from it is that if Louth actually went at Cork, could have been a totally different game. Cork looked vulnerable at the back still. They didn't deploy, I suppose, the way that the pattern of the game went. They didn't have their two sweepers like they did against Kerry, and when Louth did break fast, Cork looked vulnerable, and I'm sure it's something that they look to rectify next week. They conceded 2 goals, and there was another 3 or 4 goal chances there. So for a team that were ultra against a low team that were ultra defensive, so look, something that they'll definitely have to tighten up on the next day. But yeah, I thought I'd seen it all on the football pitch now, but this was take it to another level. The last day, I've never seen anything like this. Sam Mulroy was kicking frees and then jogging 80 yards backward into the number 6 position.
Jesus, I wonder what's up in that blackboard of his now, how to defend properly, because I firmly believe he's been Louth's best footballer. So we'll wait and see what Mr. Sam has to write on that blackboard now. Moving on to O'Connor Park, it was Offaly 3-17, New York 11 points. Johnny Murtagh leading up to this game, Puff Daddy and Jay-Z were ruled out with hamstring injuries.
Yeah, thanks. Pick me for this one. Yeah, look, it's a foregone conclusion. It's always going to be tough for New York to come over on the Irish side and try and drop any sort of performance. It's different when you're in the Bronx. There's a few players that obviously can't travel home. Could play, but when your majority of your team is all homegrown, it's like New York has been making big strides, in fairness to them, and the younger Irish Americans out there have been progressing real well. You only have to look at Fela a few years ago and won the Division 1 Fela, so they have stuff coming, but it's just a long way off yet, and the homegrown talent just isn't even near enough there. They were never going to make any sort of a stab at this, for me, and even on the highlights, look at it was an open enough game, all right, in fairness to them. It wasn't like Daniel set up their defensive and everybody behind the ball, but you just had boys running into other a couple of times and into each other's way, and it led to a few goals and a wee bit of a mix. Yeah, but look at these things happen. Yeah, these things happen, and look at no one's out to make fun of anybody. It's just they're not playing enough competitive games, and it was always going to be tough for them to come over and you know what, fair play to them, put up a grand fight, but there was always going to be one winner, unfortunately, and I don't think it really does either team much good, lads, does it? It's no real test either.
Johnny McGeaney said,
What Johnny said?
Oh yeah, Johnny McGeaney said after the game that he would have liked maybe more games. They got a bye straight into the quarterfinal, Johnny. So even if they got a preliminary game played round 1, might have got a bit of luck at that, maybe into a quarterfinal. So that's New York season over. Yeah,
well, that's what I was saying. It's very tough. You might go up to Boston and play a challenge match, or you might play at Philadelphia or something. But listen, it's tough. When I was out there, you had a couple of teams maybe come out for a team holiday or that, and you got a couple of games, stuff like that, or the FBD was on that time, But Johnny's right. It's a tough gig, and it's tough on him. He's a good football lad. I know him well. He's money out the road for me, and look, fair play to him for coming over. It's not easy, but they're trying their best, and they're trying what they have, and probably the big positive out of it is the Irish American lads and that they were fit to actually make the journey, because a few years ago there would be no team. I'm not joking here. There would be no team. No lad could have come home or he wouldn't go back. So full credit to them being fit to field the team even over in Ireland. So it was great to see in that regard.
There we go. Lovely stuff, lads. And moving on briefly to this weekend's action on Saturday in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship qualifier round 2. You have Roscommon against Clare in Croke Park. There we go. At 3:45 on the game will be live on Sky Sports. Finian, start with you on this one. It'll be in Croke Park. Your verdict on that? Doubleheader, obviously, the Clare Mayo game.
It's nonsense. I don't know what the boys are going to think, but I think it's a nonsense putting these games in Croke Park, to be honest. Is it a reward? Is it just trying to get people to be? Does everyone deserve to play in Croke Park, or what's the story? But I just think put it in a provincial ground. Start filling those grounds.
Madness.
It's madness. Look, there's these grounds lying idle all over the country. It's such a waste. In my eyes, I just think fill them, have the atmosphere. Atmosphere would be great. Like the hurling on Saturday night, there was no atmosphere. Game was flat anyhow, but there was no atmosphere there. It was just, Croke Park eats up the crowd, and Clare and Roscommon, how many are they going to have at the game? Anyhow, but sure, look, it's there now. There's nothing I can do or anyone can do about it. I just think use the provincial grounds. Like these games are all derbies, really. I like Roscommon and Clare. Mayo and Kildare is close, is a million miles away, and you've got the northern teams. Like you would fill the local grounds with all these. I know there's 2 of them on in local grounds, but anyhow, look, it's in Croke Park. So it's not,
Daniel,
it's not great,
Dan.
Yeah, look, I just seen it myself through the years going up to play qualifiers, even in Croke Park, and God, it's a fairly eerie place when there's only 5,000 or 10,000 people in it.
You played down the year after your own, didn't you?
Played down the year after. There was, God, if there was 5,000 at it. Played a couple of National League semi-finals in there when there was. Yeah, it's just.
Here the Seagulls.
Yeah, it just takes the. It's like it feels there's a challenge game feel off it, and you see the difference the home crowd obviously made to Armagh the last day. Like that definitely does have an impact, and having a big crowd behind you, and even just a big crowd there in general, because players feed off the energy of that. Yeah, look, like you can't imagine Clare and Roscommon. Sorry, I said Kildare earlier. Clare and Roscommon can't imagine that drawing a big crowd. And look, Mayo will always bring a big crowd, but it's not going to be anywhere big enough to even half fill Croke Park. And yeah, it's a funny one. But Croke Park, cash. That's usually what it is. It's usually financials are behind all of these decisions, and yeah, look, it's
who's the home team in this one, John?
Bear with me. Roscommon. But like on that, Dan, you were kind of saying like it's a money. Surely it's not a money thing if the crowd's not going to be coming. Is that?
I'm not sure how it works. It probably feeds into advertising, does it, with Sky and everything? You just don't know how it. It might necessarily be the ticket sales or the where the money's being made.
But it's not even a bigger talking point there, Daniel, as well, is the price of hotel rooms in Dublin have got scandalous. It's absolute scandalous, and we have unfortunate people having to live in hotel rooms as well at the minute because of what's going on in Europe, So it's the same people getting caught in the pocket all the time.
Yeah.
And Hawkeye, what's the story with Hawkeye? What if there's I know this is getting a bit scientific, but what if there's a dubious point in Croke Park that goes to Hawkeye and there's one up in Clonus? It's the same round, you know what I mean? At least if the semi-finals are both in Croke Park or all the quarterfinals in Croke Park, it's the same for them all. They're all in Croke Park, they're all at Hawkeye. There's 2 of these rounds in Croke Park with Hawkeye, and there's 2 without Hawkeye. What's the point? Or I don't understand. Now, it doesn't happen, but someday it's going to happen where it's going to be over the post in Clonus and Armagh are going to lose by a point and they're going to be going crazy, and Roscommon are going to win by a point in Croke Park, and Hawkeye is going to say, no, it wasn't, or it was. Where are we then? Anyhow, look, we're not going to change it yet, but it's nonsense Johnny's right, the price of stuff, bringing people up there is crazy. But look, back to the game, I think Roscommon, there's a kick in Roscommon, there has to be. They didn't play against Galway, they were all over the shop, but there's serious footballers there. They've had a good year, and they need a kick because they don't want to peter out of this championship after the year they've had.
I was only looking at the fixtures there, lads. It's hard to believe it's all going to be over in a month. Like it's either this year's gone extremely quickly, or the condensed championship seems like it's a bit of a, want of a better phrase, a balls.
Yeah, well, the airport's going to be full with players getting away out for the remainder of the summer. Anyway, that's for sure. There'll be a longer queue than what's in Dublin at the minute. look at it. I think it's all the same around the inter-county, and I know you're saying it's going to be over in a month, but you know what's going to be left for some of these clubs either, John. It's a bigger discussion there that needs to be had. Like, there's going to be some clubs going to be left in dire straits. There's no doubt about it.
That's what I'm saying.
And I'd say the flip side of it then, being selfish from a Cork point of view, it's ideal because there's so many teams in the championship, and it's the dual hurling and football causes endless amount of trouble for us because you have a lot of lads playing both. So the minute the All-Ireland final football is over, we're out the week after, and we have our three games in each code, and it's laid out till July till the middle of September is laid out for us. And look, that's ideal, but you see there in other counties the championship still isn't starting until late August, September, and look, that in itself is challenging as well, to be fair. That's some counties have a far bigger championship to rush off than others do, and from a Cork point of view, being selfish, it's great, but I could see with other counties then it's probably a disaster. Say, you always hear the story about the Waterford championships. They don't play the football until the hurling's finished, and they could be playing their championship in October, like, you know, rattling it off in 2 weeks. So,
Jesus Christ.
And like any time a Waterford club comes out of Waterford, they're difficult not to crack in the Munster. Like, so it's, look, there's no easy solution to any of this.
Yeah.
Finian could be happy enough, would you, Finian? You'd be happy enough every race week. You'll only be getting going.
Life Riley.
I don't have to worry anymore, Johnny. I'm all right. Our championship is down to start at the end of July, so we have loads of players in our club away. There's loads.
You're managing your club, aren't you?
No, John O'Mahony is, but I'm on the management team as a selector. But we've lads.
John O'Mahony, Jesus, yeah.
So we're going to be depleted for the championship games if they go ahead. But they've laid it out, like Daniel says, they've laid ours out till the end of September as well. So, look, they're ploughing ahead. Mayo, same every year, September. That's when they start. They don't care about anything else. They start in September. Simple as that. That's the county gets precedence there.
There we go, lads. There we go. And moving on to the next game at Croke Park, it'll be Kildare against Mayo at 6 p.m. The game will be live on Sky Sports. Suppose you have a good Mayo crowd coming to this game, Mr. Goulding.
Yeah, look, I probably still go with Mayo in this. They know how to win these games. Blew the cobwebs off last week. Look, they do have the defensive intensity and the structure to tie down the Kildare full forward line, I think. I won't say that they'll totally tie them down, but they'll tie them down enough to get a victory. And not sure if Ryan Dunn who's going to be back. I'm not sure what his status is. Any of the lads know, I'm not sure.
No news on it as of yet.
No news, no.
Yeah.
It's a bad enough injury, I think, but
is it?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I heard quarterfinals-ish, but you just wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Might not need him for this game, maybe. I'm not sure. Don't think so.
Yeah, look, and as you said, look, because of Mayo's attacking half-back line, they're going to give themselves enough chances anyway. And Kildare, I suppose, aren't great at the back, so I'd still swing in Mayo's favour here. I think they'll get to a quarter-final, and will again are always a tough nut to crack. But as we said, the old Achilles heel, if they don't get that rectified, it'll be at some stage it'll be the same issue.
If this game was in Croke Park, Dan, would you give Kildare a better chance?
If they camp outside Newbridge again, maybe I would, yeah. But if it was in
Keane O'Neill back.
Yeah. If it was in Mayo, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. If it was in Castlebar, I'd swing with Mayo as well.
Okay. Neutral venue.
Yeah, look, and this is actually another thing, and I saw it with Cork after getting lucky. They've a home and away toss with Limerick, but like how the provincial finalists don't get the home draw. Like, what's the reward of getting to the provincial final if, when it comes to your next game, you don't get the home draw from a team that's lost probably a round or two before you? Just it's another thing. Surely should be a given that you'll be rewarded by getting to provincial final by getting a home in the qualifier, surely.
Yeah. Sure, Kildare wouldn't. This is the point, Dan. I suppose Kildare wouldn't hold enough people, and la. So I agree with you. I think they should definitely get a home draw. Yeah.
Cork could hold it in Park Ewing. It'd be grand if we had. A lot of these games don't see more than 20,000 anyway, or 15,000.
Lads, Croke Park is just going to be, sorry to use the language, it's going to be a shit show on Saturday. Like, it's just going to be embarrassing. Like,
imagine Kildare and Mayo.
Sorry, Dan.
Sorry, I was just saying, imagine Kildare and Mayo and Newbridge. That would be.
But this is what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah, that'd be a serious cauldron, and like, it'd be like the athletic grounds last weekend. That kind of atmosphere, like.
Yeah.
Sorry for very crossing out.
We had in Galway as well. Like the kind of final, I know it's kind of final, but the crack in Salthill for the kind of final was brilliant. You know, down around the town, it was smashing. Before the game, it was all colour. It was brilliant. It was great crack. The same in all the, like in Armagh, the atmosphere in Armagh the last day was just brilliant. It's got a great venue, Armagh, for football. Johnny, you know this better than anyone, but I think it's just brilliant. It's a cauldron. The terraces are so tight to the pitch.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. You know, and it was full. It was just, you know, it gives you that bit of excitement. But like, you know, you won't get that the next day.
It's not. Go on outside, Joe.
Sorry, no. Who's calling the shots of these fixtures, lads? Who organises where these games have to be played, the venue, everything? Like, they must just be doing with bloody blindfolds on or something.
Must be some of these boys in government or something. You know, Kevin hit the nail on the head there a couple of months ago. You know, we're bringing these games all around the place, and he's dead right. Like, you know, we need to spread the wealth about. Like, if you had some of these games, there'd be far more people attending, far more children attending. You know, the local businesses is going to get a good turnover. You know, it can't be the same thing all the time up into Dublin and away. Like, it's just pointless. You know, I'd say the revenue in other places. I know, you know, Dan was talking maybe TV rights and that, but I think the revenue for local business and local hospitality would be phenomenal and a great atmosphere, and everybody enjoy a family day out. Like, this is what the GA is all about.
Yeah, they ticket prices as well, lads. It's I don't know, the GA, like, for the climate everyone's in at the minute. I don't know. What do you think, Finn?
Well, the answer to this, Johnny is right. The boys are right. The answer to this is more games and more parochial games where you're, you know, like Pearse Stadium had what? Galway Kilkenny, Galway Roscommon, and a couple of league games, and the Black-Eyed Peas. That's it. That's what we had this year. Like, it's a wasted ground. It's true. Wasted space. Look at the Hyde. Look at the Hyde. Hyde Park hasn't been used at all really this year. Like, if you change the structure and you've got more games and everyone's getting 2 or 3 home games, decent championship home games a year, in every town in Ireland, Carlow gets 2 or 3. It doesn't matter who they're playing. The buzz will be good. Like, Offaly's a great town for a few pints before a match. Great little stadium. Like, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, Cork, Limerick, great buzz in Limerick, great ground. Ennis, nice cauldron. Just like it's easy, but the fear is that a Mayo or someone will come to Croke Park and someday they won't. They'll put 40,000 up there, 50, and that wouldn't have fitted in a local ground. And then
but not this Saturday, like.
But that happens once every 30 years. Do you know what I mean? I think if they hedged their bets and just fired everyone into the local grounds, you know, like everyone doesn't deserve a ticket. Like, let's people scramble. People were scrambling for the Munster final, the Munster hurling final. I couldn't get tickets. Tried to get 2 at the end. Eventually got 2. A couple went on sale. The ticket master was breaking down. Like, the hype was there. Just as well, it lived up to the billing. But
did you go, Finian? You went at
No, I didn't go in the end. A fellow was looking for 2 tickets, but it was very hard to get them. But isn't that the same in every sport? We don't all walk into Old Trafford or Giant Stadium. It's hard to get tickets, and this is our you know, peak sporting action of the year, or biggest sport in the country. You know, it should be billed that way. But again, we'll rant on. But I'm just, you know, it's frustrating.
Oh, you'll hear the seagulls around Croker. Like, these won't be great games, lads. Like, let's be honest. But
well, I think, you know, potentially the the 2 evenly matched games. The 2 of them is going to be hard enough to call. You couldn't put your house on either of them. I know Dan probably says Mayo, but I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far.
They're not foregone conclusions. No.
Yeah, they're not foregone conclusions, but I think it was probably annoying you, John, is you want the Tailteann Cup final down in Cavan.
No, I want GA to start using a bit of common sense. Them games on Saturday should not be in Croke Park. That's my gripe.
Mayo could strangle Kildare. They could put, they'll have O'Hara, will they, on Flynn? They'll have Keegan on Highland, Durkin maybe, or Cohen maybe tie up Ben McCormack, and Kildare then are limited because O'Shea and Ruan in midfield will bully them. I think they'll bully their midfield. The boys are good, but they're lighter, and then they'll just run them from the back. That's normally what happens. But who knows? Look, they'll be tight games, but again, they'll be better off in local grounds with a bit more crack.
It's a goal threat for me. It's a goal threat for me, Finian. If they can. They seem to be shell-shocked by Dublin, that old problem with Dublin. And, if Kildare can stop the goals going in...
They have a chance.
They do have dangerous forwards. Like
Highland.
If you look back in their league game, it was a high-scoring affair as well. But I know it's only league, but Kildare and Mayo was a high-scoring affair. And I don't think Daniel Flynn maybe come on as a sub that day, did he? He didn't start.
Yeah, that's right,
yeah. I'm telling you, it's not a foregone conclusion. Kildare can hit Calgary, and Mayo and Monaghan was not as scary. We said it earlier, how long can the old guard go around putting out fires? So
Kildare's young, Kildare's fresh.
Yeah, I think anything's possible. Mayo will be favourites, no doubt about it, but anything could happen. I wouldn't be sure.
We're just so used to this, Johnny, over here, We're just so used to this script. It's very hard to change it.
Oh, you have a big shiny cup there. You're doing all right.
It's very hard. It's very hard to change the mindset when you see this every year. They just flitter through and then they get on a run. But you're right. Look, it's not a foregone conclusion. If Daniel Flynn hits the ground, he can cause trouble. He can carry a team. So, but again, look, it'll be interesting. We'll be watching.
Yeah, it could save the weekend if we could see a Kildare win, but we'll wait and see. Sunday's action, lads, in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship qualifiers, round 2. Mr. Goulding, Cork v Limerick in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, 1:30. Game will be live on RTE.
Look, I'd probably think if Cork, the home draw is a big plus for them. They actually Cork play well in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Now this new team, they're young. I think Kerry did put up quite a significant score against Limerick, and look, I'd imagine you'll have Limerick probably setting up defensively enough as well, and I think Cork beat them in Championship last year 5 or 6 points, and again, not a foregone conclusion, but I hope Cork will tighten up enough at the back that they'll get a win here. Again, though, it'll be tight. Like the form was Limerick Louth met in the Division 3 final. So there wasn't a huge amount between them. So like Cork, I'd tip the hat to Cork at home, but again, it's probably come down to 2 or 3 points at the end of the day. Again, I'll get Cork to maximise the look of the draw there after getting the last 2 rounds and get to quarter final.
Back where they belong, Dan.
Look, it'll be good for this group. Look, they're very young. There's a new management team there. Do you know what? They need to break the pattern of losing to Kerry and getting knocked out early every year and having to build themselves up to play Kerry again. They need a bit of confidence. They've a lot of young lads coming through that. Look, you want to break away with making Kerry your All Ireland every year, and and get to quarter final. It'd be a great experience for this team. And look, as I said, they have a couple of class forwards up front if we can get enough ball to them.
There we go. And moving on to where are we now? Yeah, Sunday's action, lads. It's Armagh against Donegal in Clonus. Armagh against Donegal in Clonus at 4 p.m. The game will be live on RTE. Mr. Murta, that's a humdinger for everyone to look forward to.
Yeah, it's a piping hot game, and I'm over the moon with the draw. Like I said earlier, I'm delighted. You know, you asked a couple of questions. Yeah, Redemption Day will be one of them. You know, I think I really do fancy Armagh win. No, I've no doubt about it. I think there'll be a pep in their step. They definitely looked up the sharpness and fitness back. Probably one concern is young Mackin, who luckily be concussed. And he had a phenomenal game when he came on. Absolutely brilliant. Probably, I think maybe if he even stayed on the field, he could have been a shoe-in for man of the match as well. He was everywhere. You know, so hopefully he'll be okay. And by all accounts, he's going to be fine. But I don't know if he's going to be starting for the weekend. You know, but for me, you know, Donegal would learn nothing about Armagh the last day, and they will be going in as favourites, obviously, for what happened in the Ulster Championship. You know, but Armagh just look different. They look hungry. The attitude's different. You know, Rain's fit to go either in full forward or move out round the middle. He's a lot of his bow. He can score from distance. He can long kick passing. You know, and now Armagh starting to have a few more options off the bench that we didn't have earlier on in the championship. You know, and these guys are all, you know, they're going to be walking on air this week. Just like the lad said earlier, you know, after the last game in Ulster, Donegal is going to be a wee bit all over the place with their last performance. You know, and for me, they're still relying on the old guard too. You know, McBrearty's played a lot of football. You know, the last day for me, you know, when the game got into the melting pot, he took on a crazy shot, lads, that, you know, I think it dropped maybe on the 21-yard line. You know, when you never see that with McBrearty. And he's just gone a wee bit more colder than hot. Last year he was going hot more than he was going cold, and he would come alive and put a game to bed. I just don't see that in him this time around, and you know, Armagh defensive, the structure has been very good yesterday. So you know, look at it. We're over the moon. I think it's a good opportunity. I would be a wee bit small concerned around midfield. But the only thing about Clone is it's not as tight as Ballygofay. That day they brought the field right in. They tightened the whole thing right up. They brought the field into the minimum for the Armagh kick out. That'll not happen in Clone. It'll suit Armagh. And I definitely think Armagh is going to be far fitter than Donegal. So bring it on. I'm looking forward to it. You know, I just hope the right Armagh turns up. I just, like the lad said, like Finney and Louth earlier, I think it might have been a blip. You know, so listen, John, I'm very confident. I believe in the players, and I think they'll be rubbing their hands at the draw because they not need any ammunition to put things right. The players and management would have took a lot of heat in Armagh because we're a good footballing county and we're very passionate. They would have took a lot of heat. There would have been no bones about it. They would have got it in the street. They would have got it in the shop. They would have got it no matter where they went. So they've knuckled down the last 6 weeks, and I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to get there. Bring it on.
Yeah, that's a game to look forward to. It's probably going to save the weekend again, and it'll be a good crowd at it, so it'll be key as well, Mr. Gowling.
Yeah, look, so the one takeaway for me is that Donegal haven't evolved at all. They're still flogging Michael Murphy around the middle of the field. He's running on empty by the end of the games because they're asking him to do too much. I think we talked about this earlier in the year. They're bringing nothing new to the party really, other than what they've done for the last number of years. Their build-up play is still slow. I think, look, if Armagh can carry forward with the focus and intensity they had last weekend. I think they'll be a tough nut to crack. And I think, look, Johnny, we half alluded to it. You had the league game that was feisty. You had the loss here, and there'll be no extra motivation or focus required for Armagh. They won't be getting carried away with beating Tyrone. They'll have a quiet confidence from it, and I think that'll stand them in good stead, and they'll know that they'll have the legs on Donegal when it comes to it, and I think they'll win it in the last 10 minutes.
Mr. Finian Hanley.
Yeah, no, look, it's an interesting, definitely the game of the weekend, but given what we saw the last couple of weeks between both teams, I suppose I'm not writing Donegal off yet. I suppose the reason being is that, like, Derry made mincemeat of Tyrone and Monaghan with the counter-attacking system. Like, they mauled them, really bet them both, handily. But Donegal stayed with Derry to the end, frustrating and all as it was, to play against that 15 inside the half and breaking from deep. So, Donegal were there to the bitter end. So, with no space, I think Armagh will give a bit more space a lot more space than they got against Derry. So, and they still have good players, Donegal. They still have shooters, and they like Clonus as well. So, I still give them a bit of a chance to be. It's going to be tight. That's going to be a tight game. There'll be a war of attrition this one, because there's so much going back. To the when a team plays a team again in a year, it's always there's a bit of revenge on the cards. But Donegal then will be bringing back, saying they'll have a bit of bitterness over the Ulster final, how it went in, because they had plans for bigger and better things this year. So, look, it's a massive game. I wouldn't be surprised at extra time if it was to go that way. But look, there's quality all over the field. Who picks up Rian O'Neill, what they do with Murphy, where he starts. You're going to see him in around the house a bit more on Sunday, because there'll be a bit more room in there. There'll be space in for the likes of him to sit around and maybe throw his weight around the full forward line, with Aidan Forker picking him up. So, look, I hope it's an old-fashioned traditional Ulster final clash with plenty of helter-skelter and big scores. There's big scores and big kick passers in both teams with Langan, O'Neill, these guys. So, the goalie again is interesting, Ethan Rafferty, to see, what he does as well. So, look, I'm probably looking at a draw on this one, to be honest.
Mr. Bonner, under pressure, lads.
Could be if he gets a bad result, yeah. He could be gone.
Dan.
Yeah, look, that's, I suppose, the nature of all these Division 1 teams. They're all chasing All Irelands, and it's, I suppose, as a county board, it's are you happy to be contesting Ulsters and losing in qualifiers when you're a Division 1 team? Probably he's going to be under pressure whether county board comes in and do they think there's other people out there that'll do a better job at the moment, or look, he's definitely under pressure though. It's no denying that, but there's not too many inter-county players or managers that aren't under pressure, bar the top 3 or 4. So could argue that Kieran McGee will be under pressure if they lose too. So look, it's that's the environment they're in.
Does Gazer save his job after yesterday, though, Johnny?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a turn of the corner. I think he'll be there if he wants to be there. I don't know what he's going to decide to do. Like I said, he's Armagh through and through, and I think take a scalp like the All Ireland champions, especially when it's Tyrone and Armagh. He could get another 3 if he wanted it, maybe after that.
buzzing. Brilliant stuff, lads. Brilliant stuff. Johnny Murray, your player to watch this weekend and bet of the weekend.
My player to watch is a guy that I think the cream's going to come to the top.
Rian O'Neill.
And again, Donegal. Yeah, exactly. Again, Donegal. He had a nightmare. Again, Donegal. He had a nightmare. And I think this weekend he's really going to show up. He took a lot of stick, a lot of guys maybe on your podcast, John. Maybe you were saying that comparing them to different players and stuff for you, John. But look at We're not
Who
good
was? I wasn't anyway. Who was? Oh, Kev. Kev, was it?
Oh no.
Name and shame, Johnny.
Comparing, different guys, comparing him to Clifford and not there. Look, he's a different player. He's a different player than Clifford. You don't see Clifford out around midfield doing 60-yard balls. Like, doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's just we could be doing with 2 Rain O'Neills. That's the problem. But I do think he's going to show up the weekend. And my bet of the weekend is Armagh to beat Donegal by 3 points.
Ian Handley.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Ulton Harney for Roscommon. He'd a cracking Connacht final. In fairness, he was brilliant. He was one of their better players. Probably man of the match for Roscommon.
Been around wide.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes now against Clare. Clare big and rangy around the middle. So if he can get up and down the park with the forwards that Roscommon have, and he can get kicking scores. He kicked 3, he missed 2 or 3 as well. He could have 5 or 6. He missed 2 or 3 easy ones in the kind of final. So I was watching him closely. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes on Sunday in Croke Park, because he's the type of player that can drive Roscommon on. Bet of the weekend, I'm going to stick with the draw between Donegal and Armagh. I think there's going to be a war and a half, so it's great that it's in Clonus. I'm delighted it's in Clonus. I'm looking forward to watching it. It's the type of game I'd nearly drive up to if I could. The wife would let me off, but there's a fat chance.
Get the bus down. Get the bus down.
There's a fat chance of that happening, but no, I think it'll be a cracker, and it'll be 1 or 2 point swing. But I'm going to go for the draw on that one. I don't know what the odds there, but.
Oh, we don't have Mr. Matty Ford. He's always a good man for checking the odds. Daniel Goulding, you look like you're about to fall asleep, so leave the last word with you.
Yeah, look, if Louth were still playing Cork this weekend, I might have fallen asleep already. But I'll go with. I want to see the 3 Cork lads inside, and the three Carlow, Brian Hurley, especially Brian Hurley. Look, he's the captain of the team. He's the leader. He's my player to watch. And Sherlock. I'd like to treat him to see what they'll do with a bit more space against Limerick. They're 3 quality footballers that probably, I know Brian would have got a lot of coverage, but Sherlock and O'Mahony are new to the setup this year, but they're gifted kickers of the ball, and if they get a bit more space, it'll be interesting to see. I think Colin O'Mahony showed sparks of it against Kerry, and obviously Sherlock is lethal from the freeze, so it's interesting to see what those 3 lads do. My bet of the weekend then is Mayo to continue what Mayo do best, get through a qualifier and get themselves primed for a big cut off one of the big 4 again. And you know what, I think for the crack, I think Clare will give Roscommon a right good go of it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Roscommon and Clare was a draw, or even if Clare turned them over. Wouldn't surprise me.
Roscommon and Croker's not bad though.
Yeah, no, they're not. But tell you that Clare team they're well set up, and they're difficult to play against. You get nothing easy off them, and if Roscommon have any bit of a hangover from the Connacht final, then Clare are a tough nut to crack. And I think if any one of the 4 games gives a shock, I think it'll be that one.
100%. I'll copy Finian. I'll go for a draw in Armagh, Donegal, and Mr. Soupy Campbell. I'll be keeping a good eye on him. I really like the way he plays football, so he had a great game yesterday by all accounts. Lads, thanks a million for joining me this week, and of course the podcast is brought to you by Orgarech.com and Atak.ie. Use the promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on Orgarech.com and get the best skins, gloves, equipment on Atak.ie. Be attack minded. Daniel, Finian, Johnny, thank you very, very much. Enjoy Love Island.
Oh, yes, it's over now. It's over now.